Well, I have 6:30, so I'm going to get started. My name is Andy Comstock. I'm the superintendent here at Perry County School District. I want to welcome you to our Q&A regarding the reopening plan that we have for our school district. Behind me, we have the administrators that helped and put this plan together. And then I have behind me, to my right, your left, the board members in the back row. Basically, this has kind of been the plan for the evening. We have some prepared questions. We sent out an email asking for questions ahead of time. We're going to read those questions and answer those first. Then we'll open it up for questions that you may have. I'm going to ask that you just kind of stand where you're at, raise your hand, and I'll try to call on you. I'm sorry, I can't see very well from here because it's very bright. So I may ask lady in the red shirt, if you got your hand up, I'll ask you, and I'll try to go around. Unfortunately, I'll have to point so you know kind of if somebody else, or the lady right behind you, who also has a red shirt on. So I'll try to do it that way. So if you have a question, and then I'm going to ask you to direct it to one of the folks up here. So if your question is about food service, transportation, or middle school, high school, primary, elementary, special education, or career center, those folks will come up and answer that question, okay? We will also have a transcript of these questions posted on our website and on our Facebook page as soon as we get them all together, along with the questions that we heard repetitively in our Zoom meetings with our parents over the past couple of weeks, okay? With that, I'll get started. First question we have is, why is District 32 the only school in Perry County not attending school 5 days per week? All schools in Perry County have created their very best plans for very unique circumstances. At District 32, we have created a 5-level plan that aligns with the community alert levels used by the Perry County Health Department. Each level has its own pandemic mitigation requirements. At the current moderate yellow alert level, this means that the number of students in our buildings must be reduced. Without this reduction in attendance, it would not be possible for our facility to support physical distancing safety measures. For a more detailed answer, we're asking that you view the videos that we have online. I have part of that's my video introduction, kind of outlining this same question. Then the buildings go into their more specific. The next question, when does school start? Since August the 26th is a Wednesday. School will start on August the 26th. I know that is a Wednesday, and tomorrow we're going to ask the Board of Education to amend our 2020-2021 calendar with the approval of our plan. And if they do so, we will be moving most of those days that are designated as professional development to our Wednesdays when we're scheduled to be off. We will also move, since the East Perry County Fair has been canceled, we're going to move that day, and we will be attending on that Friday, and we'll move that day to the Wednesday prior to Thanksgiving. Students wouldn't be expected to be there on that day anyways, but the staff had kind of said they'd rather have a 3-day longer break then than have a Wednesday. And personally, I like that better because we're trying to implement some virtual learning, online learning early on, and have that parent support on those Wednesdays is critical during that stage. So we're going to do that. So right now the plan is for A students at the middle school and high school to attend on Wednesday. All elementary and primary students will attend Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It is essential that they understand the procedures and how things start at school. If you ever been around a bunch of kindergartners at the first day of school, it's like herding cats. So trying to get them in line to get where they need to go so they understand what the procedures are, and especially we're going to do a lot of hand washing techniques and teaching those. So we need those kids there the first 3 days. High school students and middle school students, when we added up the days, it counted up to be 33 days equally in terms of in-seat instruction. So if we start with the A day on Wednesday, and then start Thursday, Friday with the B days, that makes it all equal throughout the semester. And there's a more detailed answer to this. It has a lot more questions and answers in terms of, Pirates at Home will also start on August the 26th. Next question, will the free and reduced lunch program still be available? Yes. All families are encouraged to complete free and reduced meals from the website. If you have additional questions, you can contact Kim Dunker at 573-547-7500, extension 330. I know you're not writing that down, but that'll be in the post, so if you want to click on the link, it'll be there. Does my child have to be logged on a certain time each Wednesday? Will they be at their screen for 8 hours? Some teachers will set a standard time for live online instruction or class meetings each week, but this will be 30 to 60 minutes. Most assignments can be completed any time during the day. You will receive more information during your orientation. No student should ever spend more than 8 hours at the computer if they are completing daily work. How will you administer medications to students at school this year? Our school nurses have worked with the Perry County Health Department to develop daily protocols to protect our students visiting the health office medication. Those students will not visit the same area as students who display symptoms of the COVID-19. If you have specific questions about your child's medication, please contact your school nurse or your principal. Will bus transportation be offered this year? Yes. Since physical distancing cannot be guaranteed on the school bus, all students and drivers are required to use approved face coverings while on the bus. If you have specific questions about your child's route, please contact the transportation department. Or email Sarah Orff, who is in the back, at sporff@psd32.com. I want my child to wear a mask at all times, except while eating lunch. Will this be allowed? If your child has specific health concerns that require all-day mask use, please contact your building school nurse or principal. Accommodations will be made to support your child's wellness. I have concerns about the toxic chemicals that we use to disinfect schools and the physical barriers that will restrict socialization. Can you speak to that? The district uses a non-toxic disinfectant that is safe for use in classrooms and schools. We do not use or store bleach or other toxic chemicals in student areas. The district will be using clear plexiglass barriers in some classrooms students cannot be physically distanced. This is a critical component of our mitigation strategy and allows us to reduce the amount of time students would require to wear face coverings. Students will be given ample opportunity to socialize, although they may look different than in past years. Next up, Mr. Jeff Stephens will answer the high school questions that were previously submitted.
Good evening and welcome everyone. One of the first questions was, when will we receive student schedules? Right now through our freshman orientation, our students are receiving them each night. Hopefully by this Friday, we will have all the schedules done. When our schedules are done, we're going to email them out to the students through their school email, and then also we're going to mail a copy home, and then you'll receive a call from me, and the schedule should be online to start viewing for their students. And again, hopefully this is Friday, if everything works well, but I'm at the latest middle of next week. How will you determine which students attended school on A day and which students attended on B day? We started with our Career Center students, which is our 11th and 12th grade students. They are attending school on Thursday and Friday, which we have about 170 of them. And then we took those 170 students, we found out their brothers and sisters. We scheduled them on Thursday and Friday, and then our counselors handpicked starting at the beginning alphabet and scheduling, making sure there was only 10 to 12 kids in each classroom after that, until they made it to all our freshman classes students, then they went to the sophomore students, and they're working their way all the way down to the seniors. That is how they were scheduled. And then we cohorted with the middle school also, so the family cohorts all the way from 6th grade all the way up to high school are together, unless we had a parent request that said they didn't want to go to school on the same days. We did have a few of those. Do my parents at home students need to attend orientation? If there are freshmen, yes, they need to attend orientation because we're handing out their Chromebooks at this time, so they have their devices. There will be an orientation for them later just to show them how to log in onto Edgenuity. And as we're still compiling the number of students and to set that date, we'll again notify those parents and students when their date is to come in for the orientation. Will my students be able to participate in the A+ program this year? The answer is yes. If you have specific questions about your child's participation, please contact A+ coordinator Ryan Mueller at rmueller@pcsd32.com, and he is one of our counselors. Will my students be able to participate in PH dual enrollment programs this year? The answer to that is yes. PH students will be able to participate in dual enrollment courses through Rainier Area College and Southeast Missouri State University, as long as they're a part of the Pirates on Campus program. We do not have a Pirates virtual program for them to coordinate with those two colleges. Will sports be offered at the middle school and high school this year? The answer to that is yes. Missouri State High School Athletic Association rules allow students that offer in-person instruction to participate in athletics. And earlier late last week, they changed that rule. All virtual schools can also now participate. For the fall 2020, PHS will offer boys soccer, girls volleyball, girls softball, football, and cross country. At the Perry County Middle School, students may participate in football, cross country, and volleyball. In winter of 2020, boys and girls basketball will be offered at both Perry County Middle School and at PHS. Please note, however, that the practices or competitions may be canceled at any time due to the current pandemic conditions. Will classes like band and choir be offered this year? The answer to that is yes. Students enrolled in Pirates on campus will have the opportunity to participate in classes like band and choir. Those classes may look a little different as students will be physically distanced for safety purposes. And now Mr. Wick for the middle school questions.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So, can middle school students use a backpack this year? The answer is yes. We looked at the amount that students would have to carry and the fact that our hallways will not be as congested when we half our population on A and B days. So the answer is yes. For the middle school, are the 3 days a week online teacher-led, or are you relying on parents to not work but be with the child to administer? If parents have to do it, can we do it according to our schedule and not 8 to 4? The online portion of your child's school week will consist of teacher-guided online instruction. At the middle school, the online learning platform is called Edgenuity. Your middle school student should be able to navigate the process without much assistance. Instruction for the 3 days of at-home learning will be teacher-guided. It may include paper packets as well as online instruction, and most assignments can be completed any time during the day. You will receive additional details. We had our orientation today for those of you that came through for 6th grade. 7th and 8th grade had a drive-through schedule pickup today. So we answered a lot of those questions in person today. And I will be followed by the primary center with Mrs. Koenig.
Good evening and welcome. I just have one question to answer. It is, when does my 1st grade Pirates at Home student have to be online and are parents required to sit there with them? I work and can't sit there all day, and we completely understand that. Our K-5 Pirates at Home program looks a little different than our 612. 612 is using the platform of Edgenuity, as Mr. Wick explained. We at the K2 level are using Seesaw. That is just simply a platform that allows teachers to put out lessons. It is very age appropriate and kid friendly, where kids can submit things back, whether it's recording something, reading a book, performing whatever they have written. There's lots of different things that they can do on that platform. There's also a very neat communication piece where they are in constant communication with parents. And then it also compiles a portfolio so that you can see the progress that your students have made. Seesaw will be used on campus and at home. In a combination of Seesaw lessons for English language arts and math, That can be done at your own discretion, at your own time, as long as it's completed by the time it's due. There will also be some live sessions. So there will be times whenever the classroom teacher that's assigned to Pirates at Home students for that grade level will have a live Zoom, a live Google Meet, some type of platform where it will be prior schedule that best fits with your schedule and with the instructor, and you will be online at a specific time. None of those live sessions last longer than 20 to 30 minutes, especially with our age level. Some of them are one-on-one sessions where they will do very specific instruction to their needs in those areas. Some are small group. And then some are whole class meetings to continue with the connecting and do some social emotional pieces. And so there will be multiple times. It can be scheduled all in one day or a couple days if that best fits your schedule and works with the teacher, or it can be daily at the same time every day. So that's flexible, but once it's set, it needs to be something that you would be available there to assist, to log on, and be there if they need your assistance.
Thank you. Now, if you have any questions, you'll just raise your hand and I'll call you. Yes, ma'am, in the back in the blue.
My question is regarding high school.
High school.
I know that we're not having orientation, so with the class schedule that we'll be receiving through email, will that then list if we're A-Day or B-Day? Is that how we'll find out what days that they're scheduled to attend?
Yes, they're going to mark on the schedule what day that they will be attending school with the A-Day or B-Day schedule.
Okay. And then he's going to be, or my son's going to have a couple dual classes. Can you explain that a little bit more? Because I think, did you say it'll only be online at school where they'll get the information for those classes?
It's going to be through the Pirates at Home, or Pirates in class, or Pirates on campus. So he'll need to be enrolled in on-campus classes, so he'll have to come either on Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, and Friday. But the teachers will then send the work, or will have the meetings just as they had in the past, or send the work home with them to be completing while they're at home on the Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, or on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays.
It wasn't real sure how the dual worked.
Yeah, as we ended last school year in March, most of our dual credit classes still kept going, so those 3 teachers that are involved in the dual credit classes have experience working with Signal and Monroe College and performing out to the rest of the year.
Yes, ma'am, right here. Lady.
What about rural internet?
Royal Internet. Country Internet. I can't say that word, so lack thereof, yeah. That has been the biggest issue for us in terms of how we deliver online learning. We have outfitted 20 buses with Wi-Fi. We're going to try to put more of the buses out. We scrambled at the end of last year to get 8, and those were stationary. And what I mean by stationary, they were fixed at different locations. The Wi-Fi signal wasn't very large, so you had to kind of get close to that. The Wi-Fi signal on these buses, I believe, Sarah, is what, 600 feet? Is that what they said? From the center of the bus or from the center of the signal. So we're going to try to post those. We also have different internet providers, so that depending, we had to kind of go where we had the internet and where that provider was located. That makes sense. So Big River provided all of that equipment and all the service for free, so we utilized where they were at. But we also have this, through the CARES Act money, we were able to fund service providers through AT&T, Verizon. So that opens up where we might be able to put the buses. So hopefully we can put them closer. That's not the best, I know that, but that is, and those buses will be there so parents can come and download if they need to do and upload. But also as the children ride to and from school, 20 of those buses will have it. So if they're on the bus, they can upload their information and download it as well.
Do you know how many families that's affecting?
Do what?
Do you know how many families that affects?
we were fortunate enough that we qualified for the county grant, and we have other CARES Act money and different things that we now are one-to-one. We have a Chromebook and device for every student. No matter if they are pirates at home, obviously they'll get a Chromebook. If they are pirates on campus, every Tuesday evening that Chromebook will go home so that they're available for Wednesdays, and they'll come back on Thursdays.
Okay. And will there be a venture club provided on Wednesdays? And if so, how would that work?
Yes, we are providing certain slots for Wednesdays, hoping that we can meet the needs of a lot of essential workers is kind of our focus. If you are currently in a venture club on before or after school care on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, we're trying to give priority for those Wednesdays. We will have additional slots available. The registration went out yesterday. You reserve a spot. They will call you and say, yes, you have a spot. And then you get to come to open house and confirm that and pay ahead. Okay? Thank you.
During that adventure club on Wednesdays, will they be doing their online?
Yes, they will provide a slot aside to provide that time for them during the day.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am?
If I choose to homeschool, can my son still participate in band or choir or club?
No, ma'am.
So I'm in a preschool, and on Wednesdays, for my kids that come in, I guess I should have them all bring their Chromebooks, no matter what grade level it is.
Yes, all students will have some type of learning that continues on Wednesdays, no matter what level. It may look differently depending on what the instructor chooses, but all students will have a Chromebook available and will have some type of continued learning.
And how do we reach out to be able to help these children? Because I mean, we'll have 12 different kids, so they're going to be in different classes,
Right. I can speak specifically to my level, and I know that they're the ones that are going to need the most support, that K2 level. And so our goal starting day one is they will be on Chromebooks, learning Seesaw, knowing what to do at school, so that whenever they do it independently, it is mostly independently. They might need a little bit of assistance getting on. However, it's something as simple as they find their badge, they scan it, and it takes them into every app or anything that they use. So there is nothing that they have to remember as far as usernames, passwords. It's very user-friendly. Once they get on, it might be something as simple as, am I done yet? Do I have to do anything? There'll be a lot of communication and ways to quickly Seesaw message the teacher and get a quick response also. Okay?
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What screening tools are going to be used to determine when kids are sick enough to be sent home?
I guess that's mine. I'm sorry. The last meeting that we had, we were looking at protocols, and I say the last meeting we had was all the schools in the county coming up with the same screening process through the health department and finding what does that protocol look like and how. Is it the sniffles? Do the sniffles get them sent home, or do they get checked? Is that a test? Do they have a tummy ache? Running a fever? Obviously, if they're running a fever, we would send them home anyways. But those are some of the questions that they're looking at. How do nurses in the building perform triage? And I can't answer that right now because one, I'm not a healthcare provider, and two, all the nurses in that room at that time were going to come together and decide how they were going to do it. And so what it looks like a Perry County School District is the same as Altenburg, as Lutheran and St. Vincent. So that protocol would be the same. Let me say it like this. That was the last discussion we had. Yes, ma'am, here in the blue.
What are you going to do for special ed people?
Special ed people.
Can you tell me specifically what your question
Well,
is?
in
Is he at the middle or high school level?
I'm sorry, he's in high school level.
Okay. So he will attend 2 days a week, which means those are the 2 days that he will get his direct services. Anything that he needs accommodating or modified in any way, the Edgenuity program is already set up to be modified at every student's level. And so we will have special education teachers available that will be able to walk them through Edgenuity programs and whatever is not at their level. The specific services, anything specific that he gets, resource, academics, or any of that kind of service will be offered on those days that he is actually on campus. Every case manager will be reaching out to all parents so that we can develop a plan that works best for each family, whatever that looks like. As far as medications go, you'll just have to.
I'm not worried about that.
Okay. We'll still administer those throughout the school, but that is a question that we've had before with medications as well. So, but does that help?
Well, I'm just kind of concerned with being at home. He's not gonna, I'm not gonna be there directly to get him to do his homework and to be doing the providing one-on-one that he's gonna need.
Right.
And I'm afraid his grades are gonna fail because of that, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And again, with the Edgenuity program, because it can be modified at their level, it is something that teachers can be on top of immediately because they can see what work is being completed as it's being done. And so they can really, and then Wednesdays, that flex day is a possibility for him to come in and get some more direct assistance if needed. Because none of our teachers want to see our kids fail, I'll tell you that. So, yeah.
So along those same lines, along the same questions of, say, the student goes Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday is that flex day where you can go in, whether it be morning or afternoon, depending on if you're AB. And then Thursday, Friday, they're at home. And I know you're saying this program can be modified, but some of those students still need that one-on-one, that person sitting right there reading to them or showing them how to get on. And if these parents are at work 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, where are they going to get that assistance? Where is that child going to get that assistance? I'm assuming these teachers are only going to be there during the day when the parent's at work. So how does that student get that one-on-one?
There will still be time to communicate with teachers in the evenings. Teachers will have to be aware to check those things because we're all aware that parents are working during the day and they don't really work our hours. So teachers are going to be on top of that. And again, if we have to develop their IEPs such that they log into Zoom on those days that they're home and participate in a resource course or anything that the teachers are going to be on campus all 5 days, so they can still be available for live Zoom, any kind of one-on-one assistance during that time.
So am I hearing that there's going to be specific teachers for these online days for certain classes?
It just kind of depends on how the scheduling plays out. All of those services will have to be looked at, and in order to meet the needs of each student, we'll have to see how those schedules play out.
I saw a hand over here.
I was wondering about attendance.
Attendance, is it specific to a grade or just attendance in general?
Mostly high school.
Okay.
I know attendance is looked at for, A+, and like the magna cum laude, summa cum laude, the NHS, all that. So if it's a possibility that my child might be sent home for, we don't know yet, sniffles, or they have to quarantine or something like that, how is that going to affect all of that with attendance?
During this time, most of the attendance policies and procedures have been waived, especially at the state level. I'm not sure about A+, but I think the A+ requirement for attendance has not said that. I know and when I use the acronym DESE, I'm talking about the State Farm Department of Elementary Secondary Education. They have waived the attendance requirements for this year because they understand that most of the schools will be going through a blended or an online virtual situation. So when we go to online, all attendance, as long as students are making progress, is counted at 94%. During our days here on campus, so we have 2 days of in-seat at the high school. If they make both days, then it's 100% attendance for the week. If they make one day, it's 50%. If they make 0 days, it's 0%. So we're not going to hurt kids on that when it's only had the opportunity for two days to be there. If that makes sense. A lot of these local requirements can be rescinded. Like you talk about cum laude and those things. Those things can be rescinded at the local level. It's the A+ program I can't answer to because that's at state level. Does that answer your question? Yes, sir.
The bus schedule, will there be any modifications on that for pickups and drop-offs? Is that going to change any?
Ms. Orr?
The pickup and drop-off will not change. The only thing that changes is who will be on the bus for 8 days and who will be on 3 days.
That's another thing that they're trying to do is put the kids on the bus at the same time, especially at the middle school, high school, because that's part of the cohorting on the bus. Yes, ma'am.
Will my child be punished if she doesn't wear a mask when she's supposed to be? Or how does that work?
I don't know what you mean by punished.
Well, I mean, it's really hard for me to keep a mask on my kid, and I know that they have to have one on the bus. Well, what happens if they refuse to wear it?
We'll continue to work with them as a parent and try to get them to understand that that's what it takes to have them. I'm sorry, they might keep an in and out. Sounds like I'm doing that, but basically the question, I hope I'm answering, these are not dates or things that we come up. This is so we can have transportation. The original line that we got was 8 kids on the bus. If that was what we were going to be able to do, we were not going to be able to offer transportation. So in order for us to offer transportation and follow the guidelines set forth, we're asking that they wear the mask. If it gets to that point, we'll have to work through and work with you. It's not going to be a discipline type situation where we bring her in and we say, now you're going to have to quit doing this or you're not, It's going to be a coaching and say, hey, wear your mask, And that's all of the mitigating factors that we try to put in is how do we reduce the wearing a mask, which is what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Something a little bit more lighthearted than teaching. Sports.
Mhm.
There's PAC, and I know that they have fall meetings going right now. What's going to happen? Are they going to have other meetings for winter sports and obviously spring sports?
Yes, they usually have a meeting for the basketball season for the parents. We also then have it in the spring for the spring season.
He said yes.
Okay, so do we wait until our meeting time to sign up for PAC? Because I know there's like some stipulations that you have to be in PAC the whole time, you have to be a member, you have to work concession stands, things like that, so.
Since I was the athletic director, I know some of those things have changed. You may want to contact the high school office. This is Jackie Miller. Just call her and she can give you the guidelines and regulations that they've set in place in the last 3 or 4 years.
Did you get that? Where? Oh, yes, ma'am, right here.
Okay, for primary, 4 days a week, I just wondered how that's gonna work. I mean, downsizing the classrooms, right? Primary goes 4 days a week off of. Is it math and,
So I can give you a quick synopsis of what their day will look like, if that would be helpful. All students will wear masks as they arrive and as they leave, and so they'll have a mask on. They will go straight to their classroom. So our common practice of waiting in the gym, teachers on duty, all of those things will not be happening. They will go straight to their classroom. They will get a grab-and-go breakfast and be in their classroom the majority of the day. When they're in their classroom and they have the ability to social distance along with the dividers that are placed on the tables, they would not have to mask. When they work closely with the teacher, closely with a peer, they will. Anytime they leave the room. So our K-1 students were fortunate enough in our new building, we have bathrooms. So even to go to the bathroom there, they do not have to. Our second grade students obviously will have to mask to use the restroom. Outside of that, they'll be going out to recess and different things like that. And at those times, they will have to mask. It is not the majority of their day. It's more of getting them to the classroom with their cohort, where it's a safer situation, and then when they leave. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Are there gonna be certain masks they can or can't wear? And with mine, I know she has a tendency of laying things down and losing it. If she loses the mask she has with her, will there be other ones provided?
Yes. We have ordered a bunch of these masks, but we've also ordered some cloth masks that are more reusable, so you can wash them. But to answer your question, if a kid doesn't have a mask, we will have them there that day.
Will there be a fee for those?
I'm sorry?
Will there be a fee for those?
For these masks? No.
Yeah.
No, not, we have enough cloth masks ordered for one per student. Okay? And we're going to give that to them. And if they happen to miss it that day, then we'll provide them this. Yes, ma'am.
Are there any plans yet for homecoming? I know St. Vincent's is planning one, so do we have any kind of plan yet, or?
No, I don't. I'm trying to worry about next week. I'm not gonna lie. Getting the school started and getting everybody here and getting them rolling and getting us into this new situation is I would love to have homecoming, but I think it's more of a question where we're at as a community at that point in time. Can we gather with more than 50? I don't know. That'll be a tough question at that time, or closer to that time.
I have another question. With the other schools not kind of doing the same thing we are,
Mhm.
say the numbers spike
Mhm.
at St. Vincent's, will they shut, I mean, maybe there's not a plan for this yet either, but are they going to shut down our school too? Just because, even though it might be, since we're doing what we're supposed to be doing and distancing and masks and.
That's a very good question, and I feel how do we answer that? That's part of our campaign that we're trying to put out there. It's 5 schools, 1 community. Is that we're all here, and all of our plans are based upon where we're at as a community. So those 5 levels of risk, I think it's what the health department called them. They run from dark green to light green to yellow to orange, then red. When we started, we had 3 colors, red, yellow, blue. If you see the back of our plan, it was a stoplight. So when they came out with 5 colors at the health department, we had to add more colors. Our colors don't correspond because we have to have ADA compliance for our website. So someone who can't see the colors and brighter blues and 2 shades of green, you can't really see that different. So our blue is their light green, chartreuse green, I don't know what they call it, and then the hunter green is our green, which is normal. Right now they're at yellow, we're at yellow, orange. So every level, our plan started with how do we have those mitigating procedures in place for every level. We can do blue, we can do green. What looks different in yellow and orange is where we had the focus of our work this summer. So to answer your question, our response is to where we're at as a community, not so much what another school is doing. Some of the questions have been asked. St. Vincent's is able to go 5 days. St. Vincent has 250 kids, 7 through 12. We have 540 at the middle school. So 270, we're already more than that in 3 grades than they are 7 through 12. So they're at the same level we are in terms of enrollment. And those who've been through the middle school, you'll know it's not a very big place over there to be able to spread out.
So basically, it's just as a community, not as schools.
It's not as a school. Every school has their own mitigating factors for what they need to do in their own at that time. So that's when we We're working on the plan. We're orange, actually. We were finalizing where we were at, and that's where we were at that time. So we wanted to wait and hope it got better.
It did.
It did get better, but I don't know where we'll be as we go through the year. So that's why your question on homecoming is more about where we'll be as a community at that point in time. I hope I answered your question. I saw another hand over here. Yes, sir.
And when she answered about masks earlier, like at recess, will kids have to be masked outside, just on the way to outside?
Right.
Yes. After they get outside, there'll be a special place they have to keep their masks. Obviously, that's been a whole other discussion of where to store them, how to
Right.
keep them from getting lost. But once they get outside, they'll be outside most days for PE and get as many opportunities as we can for recess.
Okay.
If we have multiple grades outside, multiple classes, the playground has been zoned, so we can, it's about contact tracing and making sure we know who's around who at what time.
Okay.
There's another question. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, if we go from yellow to orange as a community or whatever, and then bounce back, like how long will like the school be shut down? Or is there a leeway to, like, say if we go to, I don't know, orange, if that's the next one, 2 days before school starts, you know, what's the process of the waiting?
What we've been told by the health department, if they drop a level, we'll be there for at least 14 days. So if we go to orange, we'll be there for at least 14 days. And then if we go back up, right now, the problem we have is a question that she asked about attendance. Our attendance procedures are so, I don't know how to say it, online. And they're so computer-driven, technology-driven, that we were waiting for our technology to catch up. And so I'm hoping that if we are able to go to blue, we can go to blue. But with the way we have to track attendance as it is now, it may hinder us a little bit to get there because we have to change everything because it's not an easy switch. And
So if it's something that it changed, you know, like, say they start school, they're at school today, we're yellow, and then tomorrow we go to orange, or, tomorrow we go to orange, are they gonna go to school, like, the rest of the week, or is there something in play where it automatically just switches to going straight online type things?
That'll be more along the lines with the health department. I think there'll probably be some kind of delay in that to make sure parents have that. I don't want to thrust that upon parents at that point in time. And I'm thinking for us, it's more about how do we mitigate so that within our buildings we're not shutting down. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If one class has to shut down, we're not shutting the whole building down. And so that's the reason why we're cohorting. We're trying to separate everybody so we can track it, and so we know which building needs to shut down, or which class, or if it's a building needs instead of the whole district. So that all went into the plan on how we're trying to make sure that we keep our kids in school for as long as we possibly can. Yes, ma'am.
So just out of curiosity, when they are in school, how will their lunch be set up? I mean, are they all going to be in a cafeteria?
No, ma'am. I think it's a grab and go.
We're doing a choice of a cold and a hot lunch in every grade except for the primary, or every center except for the primary, and they will, 6th through 12th, will come and get their lunch and take it back to their classroom along with the elementary also. Primary, we're going to take it to their classrooms.
So for the high school, we're going to go get the lunch and take it to the classroom?
Yes.
And did you say, is it going to be just like a cold bag lunch or a hot lunch? I'm sorry.
We're going to have a choice most days of a hot or a cold lunch.
A choice.
Yeah.
The primary too, get that choice?
Not at the primary. The primary, we just do one. It's hard to get them to figure out exactly what they want. It's a time-consuming thing. As time goes on, if this works out, it might be something we can consider later on. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Another food
Can they
service.
bring their own lunch?
Ma'am?
Can they still bring their own?
Yes, ma'am. Our question was, can they still bring their own lunch? Yes.
Okay, this is
Question?
a crazy question. You said when these kids go out to recess, they have to wear their masks. Where are they gonna put that mask while they're outside?
So right now, we are getting almost like eyeglasses holders to where it sits here, they can put it on, they can take it off.
Okay.
And then once we get out there, obviously that would be a
like little bags or something?
We're looking at almost like a pencil box, something you can wipe out thoroughly, you can spray, disinfect, those types of things. They do
Okay.
not recommend Ziploc bags. If you
Yeah,
have
that's what I was
moisture,
thinking.
they recommend paper bags, but keeping track of paper bags, so that's why I said the face covering has brought up just a whole lot of discussion.
Right.
Okay, go.
And you can see every question that you're asking has a different answer at different levels.
Exactly.
You know, so how they have to address it. So I guess what I'm trying to say, I can't answer all the questions, and that's why they're addressing every specific need at every building. You got something?
I was gonna add, at the elementary level, the 3rd through 5th grade, we are actually doing clothespins
Clothesline.
and clothesline. So the kids will have their own clothespin, and they'll just hang their mask up when they go both to PE and outside to recess. We're going old school. Yes, so they won't all just crowd around and put it up, but they'll be spaced apart and be able to hang it up and then be able to take it off at the end.
What about the special needs kids?
As far as,
Mask.
so if a child cannot put on a mask or take it off of themselves, then we are not requiring a mask.
At all.
I will. It will depend on each student's health needs. If there are health needs either for a mask or without a mask, we will absolutely honor those things. If they need assistance, we have extra hands all the time that will help take on, take off, or just see what we can do about social distancing.
There was a question here.
Yeah, if, like, I have a child in primary and a child in elementary, if the child in the primary center gets sent home, does the elementary kid get sent home too?
That's really a question more for, and I don't want to say this because this is my estimate on that, so take it for what it's worth. That would be a health department, because it would talk about close distancing or close contact, and how that, if it's in the class of the elementary kid and that someone in the class or a teacher or someone they were around tested positive, or the health department will guide us and tell us what needs to be done. If it's someone in your family, then the health department would say that both of those children may have come in close contact. So the answer to the question is kind of nuanced, depending upon the situation.
So if there's, so if I work at the hospital, there have been exposures all the time since this started. If the need arises for a parent or somebody in the household to quarantine, the kids would obviously quarantine also.
Mhm.
So then would they be switched to virtual learning for that 14-day period?
Yes.
Okay.
And a lot of it's about whether it's a contact through a contact is what the health department will talk about. So if you have a child at the primary who gets quarantined because somebody in their class tested positive, then your older child would not have to quarantine because they weren't around the kid that tested positive.
Okay.
It would only be then if your child from the primary tested positive, then the older one would. But it's the same thing as if they call it a contact through a contact.
Okay.
And that class would go virtual, not the whole
The
building,
whole class, not
just the class, right? If the whole class is asked to isolate.
I can tell you also that at every level, I believe that any time a student has to stay home for 14 days, that extended time, if they are not sick themselves, they would be expected to continue learning at that time, and it will be provided for them.
So if they were sick, like, I have an asthmatic child who just coughs regularly. I mean, he's gonna be accused of having the COVID all the time. So if that is an issue and he misses too many days, I mean, is he gonna be given virtual work so that he doesn't get behind?
Yes. The only time we would not expect them to is obviously if they were feverish or ill and could not complete work.
Okay,
But it would always be provided.
okay.
Any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so on the high school level, they had said that if someone has to go online, then you can't come back. So how does that work if a group of them gets quarantined?
Then the question, if a student is totally symptoms or has to be sent home from COVID, he'll be sent home for 14 days and he'll be put on the virtual list. But as soon as his symptoms are cleared, he is cleared by a doctor or the health, by this doctor, they can come back to school, but they'll be assigned virtual lessons for those 14 days whenever they.
So it's not the same as like whenever,
Like,
so
yes, those kids that sign up for Pirates at Home now, they're required to go Pirates at Home until Christmas break because they'll be assigned a different number of classes. They'll only be assigned 4 classes. They need to get those finished through October. Then they're going to be assigned the other 3 classes, get those finished until Christmas break. So they wouldn't start some of their classes until halfway through the year, so they could never. If they decide to come back in October, they may have never sat through a math class or an English class yet, because they're going to be set. They're going to be put on a certain number of classes per day.
It's a different format for if you choose pirating at home at the high school versus at the elementary and
so
primary.
they wouldn't actually be transferred to the online, they just get online work.
Right.
Get online work.
Okay.
It's they'll have 14 days of what it'll look like on their Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So they may be going to Edgemuty, they may be going through a Google Classroom with their teacher, so they still they'll be doing it virtually instead of in session class.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if a class is sent home to be quarantined for 14 days, do those students have to be tested negative to return?
I believe it's detailed in the plan because everything is so situation specific. However, if they are going home just in isolation and they did not have the positive case and they have had no symptoms, there would be no issue with them returning back after 14 days.
Okay.
But it's very detailed about, if I tested positive, if I was a close contact, if someone in my class, it's pretty detailed about how long and what's required to return.
Yeah, I think it's asymptomatic upon return. Yes, ma'am.
This is directed to special education.
Okay.
I have a daughter entering into the elementary, 3rd grade. How does it work with all of the therapies, being able to be all-inclusive with the typical classroom besides her special education classroom? How does that look when everybody's trying to stay in one classroom?
It will be very difficult to push into the Gen Ed population with some of our students simply because of the cohorting. It's very similar to the plan at the primary and the elementary to be able to keep all of those students together. So even they won't be going to, why they won't be eating in the cafeteria with their whole grade level, they're eating in their classroom with their whole group. And so our special education students will be very similar. As far as related services and some of those other therapies, those will still be offered in the same kind of situation with the masks in the small settings when you can't physically social distance and the plexiglass dividers when we can.
We also got masks for the speech that are clear, so the speech teachers they can see their mouth making the sound.
So she will be included into the typical classroom or not really, because
she will be cohorted. So if we start her out with one particular classroom, we're going to keep her in that particular classroom. However, for her services, for some of her services, she will be in small group. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Can I just add really quickly? This is our plan to get us through semester. This is not long term, and from my perspective, from my program, we will change as needed. That IEP is a flowing document that can change as needed. And so if things change with our community, things go for the better, we will go back to what services looked like to begin with. Does that help?
Yes, ma'am.
same amount of, or are they going to be learning less? Is less curriculum going to be presented? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And no. In terms of, my answer is probably two-parted, and I'll say it from my point of view in terms of at the high school level, middle school level, yes, the rigor, the in-depth, or the depth of knowledge and all those things that goes through that curriculum throughout that semester is going to be expected to be, whether it's online or whether it's in the seat. And so the coverage of that material will be the same. Is that, because we can't go back to where we closed, and a lot of students are in algebra and going to algebra 2, or there's sequential order that you have to get through for those things. If that makes, there are benchmarks that have to be covered, and those are the things that have to be really taught at a level that kids get it. My answer to that question is at the lower levels, we have to catch up, because the kindergartner lost a whole quarter. We've got to catch those kids up. And so it's, how are we going to get a kindergartner who should be at first grade level to start this year, who may be at what is called K5, which is K.5 or K.75, whatever. We've got to get them to 2 by the end of the year, so that's 1.25 of a grade level we have to catch up. So at the high school level, it looks a little different because each course is based upon attaining that credit. At the elementary and primary, it's about how do we catch them up. Does that answer the question? I know you're specifically talking about high school. The answer is the same, and yes, it will be the same. And that's been the goal, to create the rigor, provide the feedback. How do we do all of those things in a virtual format? Because we can't go back to where we were in March and April. So we've been developing platforms, as you've heard them say. How do we get that? How do we implement that and put that out there? Sorry, about the top.
How will they be doing IEP?
We are hoping to have IEP meetings on Wednesdays, but as with everything, we can modify as we need to. At this point, because of where our community is, we are hoping that just parents can come on campus. If outside agencies are necessary, we'll set up a Zoom meeting for them to join in.
Any other questions? No? I want to thank you. I appreciate your time being here, your questions. I hope we answered them to fulfill your answers the best we can. I know they're not always what you want to hear, but I can rest assured this is not something that we want. I would much rather have our kids here every day. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the Chromebooks for the primary. How exactly does that work? I mean, these little kids that
That's a good question. There will be a lot of training, a lot of practicing. Our tech department has assured us that if they go in a backpack, that they will be safe. And they have also called other schools that sent devices home when they left in March, and they actually had more damage to devices at the middle school level than they did at K1 and 2. So, they will go home, it will be a common practice, there'll be communication with parents, and it will be just what we do. But yes, there will be insurance available, yes.
Okay. Because I mean,
I understand.
it's a full-on Chinatown.
I had one of those too, yes.
So I was going to say, if you ever saw the elementary level carry Chromebooks, most of them carry with 2 hands. If you see a middle school student carry it, it's like one hand and then flinging it through the air, and so
Exactly, I have both.
that's kind of how it.
Any other questions? Again, thank you. We appreciate your time and effort. Have a good evening.